Different miles, same road. Let's get into it. So when we talk about health and, the willpower, maybe the ego in it, stuff like that, what are your thoughts on willpower, Gabe and Casey, being a finite resource versus unlimited?
I think willpower is a limited resource that you have in a day. And based on how often you use it, you might be able to make more of this willpower. But I think in the beginning of the day, you have a lot of willpower. Towards the end of the day, that willpower is sort of gone to zero.
Right.
And then if you consistently use willpower, I think you might be able to add to that, let's say, that metric, right?
Like a muscle that you work out.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't think it's unlimited. I think it's finite. And
Casey, now this is when, let's just say, okay, you're not doing anything right now to really, we've determined that, right? But what about when you were working out? When was your willpower? Basically how Gabe's putting it. Yeah. Did you have unlimited willpower or was it finite?
I think it's unlimited. I think our application of it as humans is just poor.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, explain that a little bit.
What makes you think that? Yeah. I want to know.
So outside of physically not being able to do something, look at people. They're doom scrolling on their phone. They're always doing something, and that could always be applied in another place.
Yes.
Willpower is not finite. Our willingness and ability to exercise willpower is just really bad.
Well, so I get it. You're saying
where it's coming from.
We're all focusing on something, and you're right. I scroll through my phone at night between 7 and 9 o'clock.
At night. Note when his willpower's at the least.
But it's still the willpower to keep going and doing this when maybe I could be putting that energy. So I get that. I
read a book.
That.
Yeah.
So I still have willpower to do something. But I think, is it the willpower to do bigger things versus the willpower to do smaller, less physically active things?
I think you always have the same amount. I just think, as the human condition changes throughout the day, we get worse at applying it.
I can see where Casey's coming from. I guess and then you're like a good test subject because of what I just mentioned, where throughout the day, your willpower is at its lowest, and that's when you scroll TikTok at 7 to 9.
Right.
When you probably, your willpower to say, no, I don't want to do this, right? But Casey's saying that his idea of willpower is that you have willpower, but that willpower is being used sort of on the doom scrolling side of things. Yeah? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So willpower at different points of your life is different. When I was younger, I felt it was unlimited. I would have maneuvers in the morning and do these physical. Okay, so we had to do in the military, we had to do PT in the morning, just about every morning. Not every, but just about every morning. Run 2 or 3 miles. Do push-ups or sit-ups or whatever they wanted to physically make you go through, right? So I did all that. So I guess in a way I was forced to work out 2 times. Not forced. I was forced to do this workout in the morning, and then I wanted to work out in the evening. But I had that unlimited energy. I had that unlimited, and I didn't have phones to scroll through. We didn't have, all we had was these Nokia, not even a flip phone, a Nokia phone.
The old bricks.
Little bricks.
Yeah. Indestructible
that
brick.
I thought was, this is awesome. I got a cell phone. Wow. But there was nothing to scroll through. It was just a phone, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I think that, to Casey's point, I had unlimited willpower to do the things I wanted to do because I was young and didn't have kids or anything like that. I think it changes. And maybe this is why you don't know it yet, Gabe. I think it changes when you have kids, right? And when you have, because all of that takes energy out of you. So it becomes from unlimited, and I think as you go through, it becomes a finite thing, right?
Kind of. Willpower is unlimited. Energy and application are not.
I guess that's where I'm trying to draw the distinction, is that choosing to doom scroll is the act of willpower.
Yes.
Right? So when
But
you're
how much
doom
willpower is that to do it?
You're in a dopamine cycle. You don't really care. You just want to laugh, or cry. That's all that really matters.
Yeah, to each their own.
And so I guess the act of putting the phone down is you're using your willpower point at that point.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
So let me ask this. Okay, is the willpower the physical exertion, or is the willpower whatever you're going to do? So instead of scrolling, you pick up a book and you read with your eyes. There's not much activity to do.
Energy is the physical exertion. Willpower is the want to do it.
I see where you're coming. Yeah, like the.
But I think they're combined
the directed energy.
They're combined. Physically, I just can't do anymore because of my age at 52.
Right.
I'm worn down. I'm not going to go to the gym at 7 at night. Right. Mm-hmm. I'm just not there.
You don't have enough energy.
Mentally, I don't have enough energy there. Even though my kids are out of the house, I still have a wife that I want to pay attention to. Right. And I still want to do all these other things. And you're right. I mean, willpower is not a tiring thing. It's just, am I going to do it at this point?
Yeah.
Because you have the willpower to get up at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And start on this, maybe because it's in your head, but you still have the willpower to do it, right? So I guess in that sense, but I think willpower from a physical standpoint, a health standpoint, a runner can't run 24 hours in a day.
Yeah. There are physical limitations,
sure.
So you have
I guess, but you're right. I guess I just thought about this. You have the willpower, but you don't have the physical ability to do it. So I guess we're right. So I just put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's a good model, I feel like. Though. I don't think it's
sometimes I got to talk things through.
No,
then I get there.
That's how we figure it out.
But you really think it's willpower?
I think it's finite. I think it's finite. I don't think. And I could be wrong.
So you are incapable of choosing not to doom scroll at the end of the day, just because we're using that example.
Yeah, I'm not saying incapable, but what I'm saying is that the likelihood of doom scrolling goes up. If it was unlimited, then it would always be
okay.
The
What's
same.
doom scrolling, by the way? Is that just
where you sit on your phone? And,
doom scrolling is like
I'm 52, guys.
Do you have TikTok? Do you have TikTok?
I do not.
Okay,
I have to limit myself on some of these things because Instagram just it gets me. It's just like,
okay. So Instagram Reels is like when you're scrolling through the videos and you're laughing at each one.
I know what you mean.
That's doom scrolling. Yeah. So you get into this like loop, and then you're scrolling,
cycle, like you want the next one,
and then an hour has passed. And you're like, what is going on? But I feel like it's finite. I think in the start of the day, you can make decisions more clearly, aim towards goals, but towards the end, it's like your brain is exhausted from so much of exertion that it becomes not impossible, but the likelihood of, let's say, like when people, let's say for me, I'm on a diet, right?
Sure.
Towards the end of the day, I want that cupcake.
Yeah.
But so the odds of me eating that cupcake are dramatically higher.
Isn't the willpower being exercised not to eat it though just the same?
No. Because it's easier not to eat it during the day, but that noise increases at night. So
sure, the noise increases, but then your willpower is increasing even more to deal with noise because you clearly don't eat the cupcake at the end of the day.
I eat the cupcake sometimes. That's the thing. I eat the cupcake sometimes, and it's always at the end. It's when you've sort of gone through your day, you're exhausted, and you're like, okay, I just want to relax, and all of the goals that you sort of have aimed and set up they sort of, fade. They're like, oh, okay, it's just one cupcake. That little demon on your shoulder pops up.
Yeah.
And so, you sort of convince yourself very easily when in the morning, I feel like you'd be like, no. Or same thing with like people who are maybe extroverted, introverted sometimes, where they'll plan something when they're in an extroverted mood. And then an introvert mood that they're in, they're like, I don't want to do any of that, right?
So we could talk about willpower in many different aspects and avenues. Like we're talking about it from a health standpoint, right?
Yeah,
sure.
Is it finite in the health and standpoint, or is it unlimited in the health standpoint? I think it's finite to a degree, because physically you just can't do it anymore. And at some point you're just like, sometimes even if you physically can do it and you just want to get up, and you should get up in the morning and do it, you've had a good night of sleep, but you physically exerted yourself the night before, you're just like, I just really don't. Right?
I mean, the way I see it is like a muscle, like what we mentioned earlier. We're like, okay, maybe the noise of me eating that cupcake is there, and I have to, use the willpower. Like if I don't have that willpower set, it's more likely to happen when I don't have a lot of it. But over time, if I'm able to exercise that willpower muscle, then it's not as noisy.
So how come you don't always eat the cupcake?
Is it out
because I haven't used all of my willpower, if that makes sense.
Aren't most days generally the same?
I mean, I can say yes, but usually I see where you're coming from, the argument you're making, but for instance, when I start a diet, the noise is so loud of saying, okay, you want to eat this and this, because you're such in a pattern that your body is used to. And that friction of changing that pattern is what you have to use willpower for in order to sort of steer it a little bit in the other direction. Right. Over time, that steering becomes easier because it's sort of ingrained in your path, right? And so the same willpower that you might have used to course correct to good health or better eating habits now becomes just something you think about. So I would say whenever you try to start a change, that's when you have to exercise willpower the most, and it will become, you'll realize it's finite because you'll probably end up failing towards the end of the day, And then over a sustained period of time where you're exercising that willpower, it will grow as a muscle, so you can probably exercise your willpower in other things, depending on how drastic of a change you're trying to make. Like sleeping from 4 to 8 hours.
Right. No, I'm getting there. I'm up to 6.
But does that model make sense?
Kind
of.
So I mean, I can just go back and we can cycle through this. Like I can go back and make the argument. It's like, then you should never eat the cupcake at one point, right? It should never be a struggle to eat the cupcake at some point during this cycle.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. It should never be it's not a struggle anymore when you've exercised that willpower over an extended period of time.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Does that make sense?
Okay, so you're exercising willpower. Does that mean you're building up your willpower?
I would say so.
So if you're building up your willpower, and willpower is either unlimited or finite,
you can't build up something that's infinite.
Yeah,
right.
True. Yeah.
But
what made you think it was unlimited? Like for instance,
because willpower isn't the application of willpower is the thing that happens. Willpower itself is just a mental model for wanting something or doing something.
Okay.
Like the willpower itself is however finite or infinite you want it to be.
Okay.
I can, like you gave the example of a runner. They can't run 24 hours, but I'm sure David Goggins wants to. Or whomever, right? The want is the willpower. The application is something else. That's the physical energy exertion. That's the application of not eating the cupcake or eating the cupcake, right?
Okay.
The willpower is just a mental model for wanting something.
Okay. I see where he's coming from. My model is different. My model assumes that willpower is like the act of mentally choosing the change that is needed. But you view that as two different things, where the actual energy to make the change is a different resource versus you wanting to make the change.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm hearing both of you, and I hear it from what Casey's saying but I guess I'm more on Gabe's side with the finite side, because mental health, physical health are still health things. So if you're mentally tired, people get mentally tired. I get mentally wore out.
Yeah.
So if you're getting mentally wore out, and willpower is a complete mental motivation or resource, that resource is limited to some degree because you have to go to bed. You have to sleep at some point. I don't care if it's 2 hours, 1 hour, a cat nap. Something has to, at some point, rest. I see the arguments and I'm hearing it from both sides. Yeah. I still think I'm on the finite side because if it's a mental health thing, there's a limit to that as well.
I think Casey's willpower is very high.
High?
Yeah.
Yes.
When it comes to health.
I would have
But
to.
that's the thing. Like when it comes to health, like if I said, okay, you need to work out an hour each day, and let's have it be, at night, the odds of you doing that and making that change are really low.
But you could say the same thing first thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning, you're more likely to, I feel like.
I'm not.
No. Okay.
That's when I get my best work done. For me, it's time compression, right?
Exclusion of any variables of responsibilities of time.
Yep. Oh, okay. Yes, but for me, it's about time compression, right?
Okay.
So I can accomplish 4 hours of work in the morning in 2 if I can just have those 2 without the kids screaming, so that time is way more valuable to me.
Sure.
So, I mean,
outside of the responsibilities of work, children, family.
Okay.
Where it's, let's say it's a weekend open schedule.
Okay.
Right. It's Sunday, let's say, and you're on vacation, right?
Okay.
all these things.
I'm trying to put these
words.
I don't limiting you on this particular day.
Yeah, and I guess I'm trying to draw the scene because I think a lot of we went back to, the reason you don't really, prioritize your health is because it's a time thing, basically, in short. You're saying your argument is that there's not enough time in the day to work out with all the responsibilities that you have. Makes sense. And then what I'm saying is, okay, let's exclude those responsibilities. And I said, you have to work out. I think it's more likely that you'll work out in the morning for an hour if it's something you've never done versus late at night.
Yeah, that's fair. I would probably do it in the morning if I had no other responsibilities.
Right.
When did you do it when you were?
In the morning.
Yeah.
Because I worked in Australian time zone. It was like 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. that I worked.
Yeah. Right.
So I had the mornings
but
free.
You could have said, I take this for other time to do other things. Like you didn't have to work out in the morning, right?
No. But it was something I wanted to do, and I really enjoyed it when I did it.
Yeah.
So if my mornings become free, working out is feasible.
Yeah.
You make a good point.
I guess that's the sort of model I have. I have to give this person credit. I think it's either Cal Newport or Atomic Habits, or either there's another book that's basically talks about deep work. And basically, how willpower is a resource, and I'm sort of stemming from those models to sort of draft that it's finite. So I don't want to take all the credit, so those are sort of the models that I'm stemming off of. Deep work where you run Pomodoro techniques, and instead of working, 5 hours of super intense focus work, you split it up to 30-minute chunks. Same thing, it's sort of applied in studying. When it comes to school, you're more likely to retain, do better work that way. And Atomic Habits, where you're basically trying to ingrain a habit, and you have to use some sort of willpower in order to do it too.
Right.
So I can't take all the credit, but I think that's what we're going here for. In the past, Casey would sort of bring up this idea that I'm sort of exerting discipline when I guess work out or lift in the morning. Yeah. And I think in the beginning, I sort of did. And I think this sort of goes into willpower a little bit. Yeah. But after weeks, months of time, it doesn't feel like I'm using any type of discipline.
Okay.
And it's funny because other people will tell me, oh, you're so disciplined. And I was like, it doesn't feel like it. It now feels like a habit. It doesn't really feel like I'm exerting effort to make the choice to go work out in the morning.
Because you like it, right?
Because I enjoy it. But I also think that plays into like diet too. Like,
when the discipline and the diet part of it then?
Well, I think it sort of goes into many areas. So like what I'm trying to say is you only exert discipline in the beginning of the change. And then it sort of just tapers off. That's what it feels like. And Casey proposed an interesting idea where, if you're so disciplined in one area, can you use that discipline for another area.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like that's how it works.
Not with me.
You know? and I think you're right. I think
because the way you describe it, then you can be disciplined in all things. If it's just, as long as you turn all things into a habit and you never get a wrench thrown your way, then you are disciplined in all things.
Yeah. Well, but I've had a wrench. I had shoulder surgery, right? That's a wrench. That was like a major wrench for me because I was like, I've never had this before.
You talked about that.
I never had
6 to 8 months to get back.
I never had a broken bone in my life.
Right.
I never had anything that prevented me from physically doing what I wanted to do. And that was the first instance a couple of years ago. And so, I mean, my discipline from different stages in life, 30 years of, working out in my life or some physical activity, physical exertion. My discipline in the beginning was more kind of like I could take a little bit of time off and still look like I do or get right back into it real quick. So my discipline wasn't really there, even though I did still do it. I didn't really look at it as, man, I got to get there today. Now in the as I got older, but in the military, it was kind of like, I don't want anybody recognizing me. So I want to be disciplined enough to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And then I think that, now where I'm at is more like, am I disciplined or am I just kind of like, well, I guess I am more disciplined because I still want the stature. I still want to portray this person that has confidence. So I still need the discipline to go in, and things hurt more and it's harder. Yeah. And that's like, oh my gosh. So I think the discipline, or I keep saying discipline, like it's a new word, but that part of it, I still need the motivation. I still need the discipline to go in and do these things on a regular day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis or whatever it is to stay healthy, right? Things drive me because of where I'm at in life. So discipline has always been there for me, I think, to some degree.
Interesting. Okay. So we talked about discipline. Now I'm curious, do you guys view your bodies as assets or liabilities?
Asset in the beginning, a little bit of a liability.
I don't think you're wrong. I agree.
Right.
I think he's right.
You didn't. In the beginning, I was physically very healthy. No ailments. Never broke, like I said, never broke a bone or anything like that. Never had a torn muscle. It was just kind of like an asset. I can do this, and then I can get bigger, and it's unlimited. I'm going to use that word, unlimited, in what I can do in my potential in this right now. But obviously there were certain things that stopped me from going, higher levels that I talked about earlier. Now it's, oh man, if I don't do this, my arms are going to sag. I'm going to gain a little bit bigger belly. I'm going to lose, my shoulders aren't going to look as big as they do. And I mean, it's not a liability in the sense that it's going to hurt me with anything, but I think from the way I have talked, or what I've talked about, the status, the way it helps me feel confident, I feel I can lose that stuff. And to me, I don't want to lose the confidence I have in myself. And I don't want anybody else to see. I feel that they would say, oh, he's not taking care of himself like he used to. Something must be going on. Right. Is he okay? Todd, are you okay? Do you have, what is
everything okay at home, Todd?
Right. Can I help you? Do you need help across the street, sir? I want to look like I can take care of myself. Let's say. And,
Secret Santa is a life alert.
But the liability part in that is, am I hurting my shoulders more? Am I hurting my knees more? Am I hurting my back more? Because I do feel it in there. And some of it is a result of me working out and doing things. I tailor my workouts to my age now, right? Yeah. I'm not going and benching what my brother benches. No way, no how. I don't want to. That's probably what destroyed my shoulder anyway. But, and I know other people would have different opinions on that, but, there's just things I limit myself to.
I think I would say I agree with Todd. Where,
okay. All right.
Towards the beginning,
I disagree. But
okay. I'd say towards the beginning of your life, it seems more of like an asset.
Yep.
And then as you age, it becomes more of a liability. And I think I'm trying to think of some reasoning here, but when I was in school, the college I went to was, they had a lot of nurses. And so you would always learn weird things about the body. And, I discovered what nystagmus was, if you guys don't know.
No,
you don't know what
no.
nystagmus is? Nystagmus is like what that test that cops do to determine if you're drunk, where you follow the finger. There's an involuntary eye shaking towards the end of, if you look towards the edge, and that's called nystagmus. So, you'd learn these weird things. And one of the facts I learned is basically your body is pretty much growing until I think mid to early 20s. Mm-hmm. And then it just slowly stops growing. And so it's just pure maintaining. So you're slowly dying after that. In short, unless you do other things to sort of prevent aging. And so I think that's why I think it's, in the beginning, it's an asset, maybe early 20s, you're living life, everything's working as it should. And then as you age, it, unless you're putting in external stimuli to sort of not have it age as fast, then it's just a machine that's slowly breaking down over years of time.
Yeah. Sure. I think it's a complete liability. It's just an obstacle
How'd you get there?
Anything. Well, I mean, kind of the same way willpower, right? It's like the body is still the obstacle to the action.
Okay.
Right. So it's not that you can't invest in your body, but it is always the obstacle to the outcome. Whether that's money, whether that's, doing whatever, it's still the obstacle that has to be overcome, and it gets worse over time.
Right.
You could say, you even said it, it grows to a point and then it deteriorates. Not that it improves to a point. Mm-hmm. You're not at your peak at 25 or whenever it starts, but it grows and then it degrades. It's a complete liability.
Right. So what you're saying, I think, Casey, is if you start now, it's harder for you to start because as you age, I would find it the same way. If as I'm aging, I can't start over, there'd be no way, no how. If I never worked out or never did anything and all of a sudden I wanted to get into the gym and start doing it, I think my workouts and everything I would do would be completely different. I would probably walk on a treadmill, walk or climb a stair steppers, and that'd be it. Because that's kind of what I see when I walk into the gym now is people that are a little bit older or my age that haven't been working out forever are just there to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Right. And to them, that's walking. And like I said before, health is different to many different people. Right. And somebody who goes in and walks on a treadmill, great, man. If you're maintaining your health and that helps you, good for you. Right. So I get what you're saying, Casey, if that's what you're saying. I'm not quite sure.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's hard as you get older. Therefore, your body's the liability because it's deteriorating, it's breaking down. So I get it. I think just from my perspective, when I started working out at 19 and I've been working out, for 30 some odd years, it was an asset. My body was an asset because it was young, it was able, it was vibrant, it could work out. But working out is breaking me down as well because of things I did earlier in my life that my joints just can't handle anymore, or and I could probably lose about 20, 25 pounds and really hit the workout. But my mentality has always been the more weight I have, the bigger the persona, the bigger confidence I feel, stature.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the right way. It probably is completely not the right way to think about it. But if I lost like 20, 25 pounds, things would get weaker. Things would deteriorate more. And that probably is completely untrue, but that's the way I've always viewed it. So, I mean, the asset, the liability part of it, I still think because of where I started out in my life, it's a little bit different, but I can see it from your perspective too, where nobody, and they're trying to start up. Now it's just, it's a liability. My knees are a liability. My elbows are a liability. My shoulders are a liability. Any of that could fail at any time.
Yeah. No, it's the textbook definition of a liability, right?
Yeah.
Once it's made, once it's done growing, it literally does nothing but depreciate.
But you don't put any effort to slow that depreciation.
Not right now.
Not with the licorice and coffee.
Want that? Don't you want that? Don't you want depreciation to slow?
I want that, but I also want other things that conflict with that.
Yeah.
Or at least in my mental model conflict with it. And I'm willing to admit my mental model may be pretty wrong here.
I mean, everyone has a different mental model. That's why I try to like willpower, for example, I try to understand where you're coming from before I, sort of try to critique. I say critique, but add comments to it. But I think, at my age, it's a liability, not as bad, but I think I do notice, like a decade ago, things that I would have been, be able to do easier than I can't do now.
Yep.
But the idea is to slow that depreciation as much as I can until AI solves everything and I live forever.
Right. You'll be in a different body when that happens.
Give it 10 years. 10 years.
So, Todd, you've mentioned a couple of times now, like you can't stop, right? When was that point that you realized you can't stop? Was it your shoulder surgery before?
Yeah, because, before shoulder surgery, I was getting to that point where I was just kind of, the willpower was kind of depleting on me. It was kind of like I just, god dang, or maybe it just was the physicalness of it and what was going on and what I wanted to do to maintain it. Maybe that was the problem. I could do smaller workouts. I could tailor workouts, but to me, I wanted to keep doing the same thing I've always been doing. And that's probably the toughest part for me is scaling back.
Okay.
I don't want to scale back because I like where I'm at. Mm-hmm. But where I'm at now is going to be completely different in 10 years in the way things deteriorate. So, I would say before shoulder surgery, but before shoulder surgery is when I was like, I'm going to scale back. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this. I'm just going to do little bits, I'll go to the gym for half an hour, walk on a treadmill, lift a little bit of weights, whatever that is. Then the shoulder surgery, sorry. But when that happened, I almost quit.
Really?
I was
altogether.
I was like, man,
that's interesting that you almost just dropped all.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Mentally, it was just like, I'm ready to not do this anymore. And I think there'll be a day where
that does happen.
Well, yeah, it will never happen where I don't go into a gym, I don't think. But I think I'll be one of those individuals that is walking on a treadmill because I want to maintain that part of my health more than I would want to maintain size.
Do you compare yourself to the average population of your age? Or are you comparing yourself to younger you? Because it seems like you're comparing yourself to your younger version of yourself rather than other 50-year-olds.
So very interesting. I'm going to try to get through this real quick. My brother is actually, that is a very good point. My brother is my motivation now because my brother, I don't think if my brother kept up with it or started working out, I may have decided that wasn't for me. Really? But now my brother is my competition.
Yeah,
and I'm his to some degree.
Okay.
Even though really I don't know why because he's beyond anything I've ever done.
You cut that.
But he would. That's a good point. I'm glad. Right. But what you said earlier is a great point. Is and I never even thought about it. Is my brother is my motivation now, and I'm kind of his motivation. He has said it, and he is mine. He's my arch
the nemesis. Yeah.
Not in a sense that I want to go out and destroy him. In any sense.
But you gotta be better than
will on him.
Yeah.
But I still want to. When he walks into the family gathering and
Yeah.
looking like he looks. I want to walk into the family gathering.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I want to still have the younger me
Yeah.
to some degree.
I guess I compare myself to people my age.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I'm much more like, well, everyone around me's I'm not that bad, so it's fine.
I guess. Yeah. It's interesting because, I mean, not to call out anybody, but when a lot of my friends, I'll see them at least like once a year, and we'll have we'll go to like a lake house and everyone gets together, catches up, and a lot of these people sort of gained weight and they're sort of not prioritizing health, and well, they might, but it also could because they're starting families and things like that. But just like the drastic change and like me comparing myself to them, and it's interesting, you know.
Let me. I'm going to ask you both something, okay?
Yeah.
From different perspectives, because I get this, and it bothers me a little bit. It didn't bother me in the beginning, but it bothers me a little bit now. Do you feel like you're a specimen? And Casey, I'm going to ask you in a different way. Do you feel you're a specimen that's different from anybody else? The average population.
Sure.
And when you walk into a place, you're always being stared at or looked at because of your physique.
A little bit. Usually,
how do you feel about that? Right. I mean, you're young yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes I think I sort of wear things that are more baggy, like because sometimes I don't want the attention.
Right.
I'll put on a hat. I usually wear hats now. I'm not bald, or I'll wear like a baggier shirt instead of like a fitted polo. You know, those are more occasional things, right? I don't really notice it, but it's funny when I'm around other people because they'll notice it for me. And they'll be the ones that sort of call it out.
Well, and I'm
like, yeah, I know, but it's sort of like, okay,
when they call it out, you know? You're like, oh, great. I wish you wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Casey, from your perspective, when you walk into a family gathering or anything and people see you, you're still look physically, you know, like you're in shape, right? Do you feel like anybody's judging you? Do you feel like people are looking at you in any different way?
No, I wouldn't care if they were either. Like it just
so that wouldn't bother you if you were.
There's not a whole lot of external stimuli that's gonna bother me.
So I feel like it's been okay. So I'll give you a prime example at work the other day, and I don't find it harassing or anything like that. It's just a part of who I am.
HR.
Right? Yeah, right. This guy picked up my size, but
he called me small.
But look at you. What is he supposed to do? Right? Like, but so somebody came in the other day and said, "Oh my gosh, you're built like a safety in the NFL." And you know, and okay, he's trying to be nice, and I think he's trying to compliment me in some regard.
Yeah.
To me, it's just like I don't want people to view me as that, so I don't want anybody to say anything. I don't. The way I carry myself and what I do, I've obviously said this many times already, is because I want to portray confidence, and I want people to look at me in a certain way that portrays that, right? Like, hey, don't mess with me from a physical state. I don't want you to, you know, I don't want to get in a fight or nothing like that, but don't, you know, I have confidence in myself by the way I work out and carry myself and do all these things to look like this, but I want you to also know that I do have a little bit of mental, you know, alertness that I can be smart or portray smartness to some
brains
degree.
Versus bronze,
right.
You know,
but it bothers me in a sense that, hey, we're in this setting. I want to have a conversation with you without talking about anything about my body. At all, right?
Yeah.
I really don't want that, and you know, I get this eye like people look at you like, you know, like who's this? Some people will say something, you know. And I know they don't mean to be derogatory. They're trying to be complimentary. But it still bugs me to a certain
I think
degree. So I guess what I'm saying is I feel the pain of people that might, again, I'm not insensitive, but the people that might have a disability or would like that for them probably to be like, oh, I wish I had what you had, Todd. Right. I get it. But I also get where they're coming from when people are staring at you because you're different than everybody
Okay.
else.
Got it.
Okay.
A little bit, because not everybody walks around looking like me. I almost rather walk into a gym where everybody's bigger than me,
Yeah.
and just be like, great.
Yeah.
I can just work out and nobody's watching me work out, and I just do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause that's the way. Now, some people have the ego where they want that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I am definitely not one of those people, and it bugs me. That's why I asked the question. I had to ask it.
Yeah.
If it bugs you, I mean, obviously, Casey, with you, it's just, it wouldn't matter anyway.
No.
Either way you look at it. Would you even recognize it?
No. No. If I'm in a room, I'm there intellectually. My body's an afterthought. If I was built or skinny or fat, it really wouldn't matter to me.
There's sort of like archetypes that sort of play into these things. And so, when I start talking, people are like, they probably don't think I'm going to say the smartest thing or discredit it at, just ahead of time, but, I think it's just, you really can't control what other people think or their perception of you. However they decide, or however that's on them and their life experiences. So sometimes it's like, okay, but then, you sort of move on.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
So your self is somewhat tied up in your physical body, your sense of self.
I know it is for me.
I would say so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not saying mine isn't completely, but I think for me it's way less. Like
really? Okay.
Like if I don't view myself physically, like if I go in, especially at work, if I go into a room, I'm not physically there, if that makes sense. Like it's very much a mental exercise. My mental self is there. And then physicality, whatever. Like it doesn't play any role, good, bad, otherwise, indifferent, right?
Yeah, maybe it's because every day I'm like connecting with my body. That might be why.
Fair.
So when you walk into, and I'm not saying this ever happened, but Casey, you walk into a room full of, let's just say they look physically fit, and everybody in there is, but you're not to that degree. You're saying you're not the woe is me person. You're just like, hey, I'm here to use this. And
I mean, it's not that I won't notice it. I'll notice it.
Right.
I'll catalog it. I'll probably use it in whatever
conversation. But it doesn't influence you. It doesn't intimidate you or anything.
God,
like
no.
That. Right. Mm-hmm. I do. My intimidation, physically, I'm physically intimidating to some degree to some people. Mm-hmm. But to me, I do have a degree of instability or carrying myself in a way that I should when somebody that I know is in that room that is just mentally prepared and smarter than me. I'm not the smartest person in the room ever, really. Right. So I try to compensate that through common sense and through the confidence I hold in my demeanor and how I hold myself up.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
I think for me, I guess it's sort of almost the same thing. I try to.
Well, you have more.
I try to choose my words. Okay. Balance between smarts and humor. I try. And then, I think my age and the way I look impacts what people will think.
Well, that's
come
true.
Out of my mouth.
For you right now. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
At 33, though, I think that people can get past that. They're probably not.
I would agree. But maybe older individuals, or let's say if I'm in a boardroom with like a executive team that's in their 50s or 60s.
Hey, let's just you and I talk. Casey, nothing bothers this guy.
Exactly,
you and I need to
your
talk.
opinion don't
right.
care.
If you're in the room, no matter how you got there, you're supposed to be there.
I mean,
you know what? That's how it works.
Well, that's right.
I mean,
you're there for a reason to do your job.
But it doesn't matter. Like let's say, so I'm not going to say exactly what you do, Todd. But if you get invited into the boardroom, that would really unsettle you.
Yes.
Why? Because you're supposed to be there.
You're supposed to be there. And I'm just going to say it from what I do now in the supply chain world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I should know a lot based on the experience I have. Not a lot, but I should know a relative good amount of things that would help in the conversation. I agree with that. I think the one thing we got to remember out there, to everybody listening or, tuning in or whatever you're doing, health comes from many perspectives, and we're just kind of, from my perspective and from Gabe's perspective, I think you and I do a lot of working out with weights, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so many other ways to do it. There's mental health, and I think, Casey, there's ways you do that or help yourself with that, right? Through work or whatever it is, read a book, you try to pick something up. I see you guys going back and forth, on in Slack, in a different room, mm-hmm. On this and that idea, interesting, and you read up on things, right? Mm-hmm. I think health is how you prepare yourself, mentally or physically, whether that's through many different variations of exercise or whatever that is, or whatever you do for exercise for your mental capacity. I only know health through really one aspect. Mm-hmm. I know that I need to work on mental health probably more than anything. And at some point, things are gonna be where I need to just kind of take it back a little bit and not worry about the size of who I am physically, but worry about, how can I be there for my grandkids? How can I be there for my daughters? How can I be there for my wife and prolong my age so that I'm there mentally for them as well?
Casey?
Right?
Fair enough. I'm going to use my outro a little differently because I don't really have anything to say, but I want to ask you guys genuinely for a piece of advice you can give me. Not a bench press or a move, but we've had this conversation now, and I'm genuinely curious what advice you have for me.
I think that health is sort of the new form of wealth, in short. I think if it is one of the single things that sort of pays dividends while, you exist, it sort of helps in many aspects of your life. I mean, you can sort of look at it as almost like monetary, but, with advent of, science, technology, who knows what it might look like in the future. And I would probably want to stick around as long as I can to see what that looks like. But I sort of view it as a new signal of wealth almost.
Okay.
You see like someone like Jeff Bezos, who's just gone, crazy transformation. Mark Zuckerberg, I feel like. And obviously these are multi-billionaire, individuals, but they did those things for a reason. Sure. I wouldn't assume that monetary comes first and then health.
Those people literally all got money first.
Well, yeah. But what I'm trying to say is I can make the argument that if they prioritized health, they could have made that money faster.
Fair. That is a minority versus the majority. Though.
Yeah.
Todd?
So,
I would say it has a lot. My advice would be a lot of what Gabe had said. I would say that if for you, Casey, or anybody out there that isn't doing anything physically, even though they're fine and just watch out. Be careful later on in life.
It's
take care of your muscles, because these are all things that are holding your body together, right? I can't think of his name that just passed away, but he had his brains yet and he was talking through a computer all the time.
Stephen Hawking.
I'm sure he would give up a little bit of smarts possibly to have the ability to hug his wife, maybe he had children, right? To do things physically with his children and stuff like that. But I think that you're fine right now. Don't make things priority in your life that are going to keep your kids active and loving you, because they're not going to love a physical you,
Yeah.
Yep.
They're going to love you as their dad, right? But I think it's, if you want to keep having those activities when they have grandkids and stuff like that, and you're physically weak, just watch that, because mentally you're there, right? You got the mental health part of it, you know, and you want to be there, you know, for your wife and do the things that you want to do with her. So priorities are different for everybody when it comes to health and what you're going to do. Just, you know, watch it. When it comes later on in life.
It's something that you can neglect on the daily, and then it could have very adverse effects later on in life.
Yeah, that's true too.
And you don't really know until it's almost too late. And like, you have kids now, I'm sure you'll want to be able to pick up your grandchildren at some point in your life and lift them up and, you know, be able to be active with them.
That's a good point.
Things like this that you do today allow you to do that later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, both of you.
Yeah.
So.
Likewise.
Thank you. I liked it a lot, man. It was a great conversation. Definitely.